Hi, this is Stephen Mance. I'm here with my friend David Roosevelt. Hi, David.
Hi, Steve.
And today, David is going to show us an actual garden that he's worked on for an extensive period of time. That includes native plants. As you know, David is a very big enthusiast of promoting native plants as part of a home garden, because they thrive much better and they're good for the environment. So, David, how about if you show our viewers some of the plants you want to tell us about?
Sure. First thing I'd like to do is just to let you know what we do not have in this garden, because we've been talking about that in the other videos. You'll notice here there is no hose, there is no sprinkler. We don't add water because the plants here have evolved with the natural rainfall in the region. There's no artificial fertilizers used, so you do not have a bright green lawn, and there is no artificial fertilizer, and there's no herbicides, and there's no insecticides. So whatever insects are here, that's just what we don't have. What we do have now, just to let you know, some of the flowers will be coming up probably in a couple of weeks. The flowers normally come up the end of May, early June. So we have some things here, but not everything. But we can show you what we do have right now.
Okay, and I think it's perfect that let's remind everyone, we're in the middle of May here. Mm-hmm. So this is the beginning of the flowering season. Some plants are flowering, some are not. So this is a good time for us to get a quick look at what the current status is of this garden.
Right, so let's give you a short tour of the garden. Part of the idea, just to let you know, of any native plants garden is to make it inviting. So we make sure that we have some seats out here, and we want it to be an inviting place so people will feel comfortable here. Because one of the issues with a native plants garden as opposed to a lawn is that people say that they don't feel comfortable. We want it to be comfortable. Mm-hmm. So what we've got here is, this is a prickly pear cactus.
Wow.
Which, despite the fact that this is New York, there is actually a species of cactus that is native to New York.
Amazing.
I did purchase this at a store downtown Brooklyn called Garden, Grdn, on Hoyt Street.
So if it's a cactus, are there, because to me a cactus is a desert plant.
Right.
So even if this is native to New York, there are conditions that cactus grow in because they've evolved for that condition. So would this grow in particularly hot areas? It can just grow anywhere in New York?
Anywhere in New York. I made sure that when I planted it here, it had a good sun exposure. I didn't know for sure, but I planted it. This is already the third season, and it's doing well, and it flowers. So apparently it's done well in this location, but they would need direct sunlight.
Very cool. Okay. Yeah. So the early settlers would have seen this everywhere: Manhattan Island, Brooklyn, Long Island.
Only sandy areas with low water, not very much rainfall, and high sun exposure, high solar exposure.
Got it. Okay. So any beachfront, we have lots of beaches in New York State, and we've got Atlantic Ocean. So you're right, areas like that.
Certainly areas like that. But I planted it here. I just wanted another native plant here, and that it's been doing fine.
Terrific.
Even through the winter.
Fantastic. All right. This is a whole new option people might not even be aware of. Okay. Terrific. Sure. Well, let's look at some more now.
What we do have flowering here are fleabane. Now, the fleabane is not something that I planted, and to tell you the truth, I'm not sure that the fleabane is native, but I left them here because they are beautiful and they are flowering. This is something that came up by itself. These are it's kind of a plant. Some people would call it a weed, but I keep it because a weed is only a definition. They are very beautiful.
Right, like you said, you do not encourage the use of herbicides. You want plants that are naturally adapted to their environment. Right. So this is flowering, as you said, without herbicides, without any artificial products.
Right. Speaking of herbicides, if we do need to get rid of weeds in the garden, because it's a small garden, we just pull them. So we don't have to spray anything. It's a small garden. We're not dealing with a very large area.
Very neat.
We just pull them.
Okay.
But we do have over here, this is a butterfly plant.
Wow, fascinating.
Butterfly plant that I purchased as a tiny plant. And now it's growing up. Again, it will flower. It should flower beautifully.
So tell us why. Our viewers may wonder if it's a butterfly plant because it looks like a butterfly, or why? Does it have what's its relationship with butterflies?
When it flowers, the flowers will attract butterflies and other pollinators.
Wow. So why do butterflies get attracted to plants? They're pollinators?
So any pollinator, right? Bees, butterflies are going to see colors on a certain spectrum. Mm-hmm. And you'll know that some flowers even have kind of a landing pad markings that will invite the butterflies because there's a symbiotic relationship. The plant needs the insects in order to reproduce. The insects get food from the plant. Neither one of them knows what's going on, but that's the way evolution has worked it out. So now you'll notice you won't find as many pollinators near, let's say, daffodils or tulips. because these are not native to the area, so that it doesn't register with a lot of these pollinators. But the native plants do register with the pollinators. So they will come when there's color, they will come, and in some cases they will only come with these plants.
So is this an instinct they've developed through natural selection? Like scientists tell us of epigenetics. I won't go into depth here, but there are some genetic codes that can actually be experienced by an organism and become part of what they pass down to their offspring. Like, in other words, it doesn't have to occur over millions of years. The organism has a certain experience, and epigenetics causes it to be genetically transmitted. So you're saying that, do the butterflies have a instinct they're born with to search out flowers, or I guess you're saying it's a chemical reaction. It's chemical that attract it.
Well, I don't know the level of details, but I can tell you that if you have a garden with, as I mentioned before, tulips and daffodils and other non-native plants, you're not going to see the number of insects that you would. You might wonder why. I don't know why, but somehow genetically the insects understand either there's not enough pollen for them or they don't somehow register with those plants. However, the native plants that we're planting here, it does register with these pollinators, and they will be visiting them, and that's helpful for them, because as you can tell, there's so many areas with lawns without these things, and throughout the world we're having a lot of trouble keeping pollinators alive because there's not enough area. Everything is being developed. So we're trying to put some of that back for them.
Fascinating. So this is a butterfly bush. We will revisit this in future videos, and in the next few weeks or months we'll be able to show this as it looks when it's fully blooming. Terrific.
Right here, the daylilies, which I did not plant, those were here before, they will be coming up, the beautiful orange that will come up as well, so maybe we'll be able to look at them later in the season.
Very cool. Now tell us one thing. So you don't use herbicides, you've explained how you get rid of pests. Now, how do you make these plants grow? How do you fertilize them? Is there some substance you use that causes them to grow, or you just water them? What do you do exactly?
When we go to the back, I'll show you a compost pile I have that's for natural compost that we can spread. But the fact of the matter is that the soil here in Brooklyn is actually very rich soil.
Wow.
And we haven't had to use anything. Once the native plants are planted, they get a little water at the beginning, and then the regular rainfall, as long as you don't have a drought situation, will take care of it. And
I guess maybe the ocean, the precipitation here that gets minerals from the ocean and the local bodies of water, the Hudson River, etc. Is that part of why it's so rich?
The soil, well, I don't know the details about this particular soil profile, but we have good soil here.
Fascinating. Excellent. Okay, is there anything else to see in the front yard before we close this video? We're going to do this. It'll be the front yard. We'll have another one at the rest of the garden.
Let's just move to the side of the house. I'll show you the ferns.
Terrific. Let's see. Great. Okay.
So I planted these native ferns also. There's one here. There's one here.
Beautiful.
There's one here.
These look very dramatic. Like ferns are known as what was around Earth in the Jurassic era, prehistoric times. So these have that suitable wild look. Right.
Very good point. So that they are primitive, and another point is that they are not flowering plants. They are plants, but they're not flowering plants. So they do not attract pollinators. But I wanted them because they are native, and I just wanted more native plants to be in our area here. So along this border, we planted several different species of native ferns. And sometimes, they're not. You don't have the spores right now. They don't have the spores right now. But these reproduce not by seeds but by spores. So they're not particularly attracting insects, but they are native. And I just want more of the native plants in the area. So
fantastic.
So we have these few here, and we can go on toward the back.
Okay, let's do that in part 2 of the video. Thank you, David. And we're gonna go on. We're gonna resume from the backyard. Thanks.